Thanks so much for joining us this evening as we share with you what we hope will be some useful facts to help you begin planning for your study away term. In addition to discussing the various credit bearing global education options at Duke, we'll be steering you toward the most helpful resources and the steps that can make the process more efficient for you. If you need more information about what we talk about today, please visit us at globaled.duke.edu. We also hope you'll consider making an appointment to meet with a GEO advisor once you're ready to get started. Let's take a quick look at the agenda for our slideshow. If you have questions during the slide presentation, please type them in the Q&A box and we'll address them afterwards. Studying away with GEO gives you access to a world of opportunities. Our Duke In and Duke Approved programs are designed for you to take a variety of courses in real time and in context, using local resources and allowing you to benefit from the proximity of your host country. You'll earn credit while building your global networks, grow relationships with faculty, peers, and local residents while progressing on your academic path. Many students who study away come back to Duke and ultimately refine their major and minor goals, develop related research projects, and begin planning for graduate or professional school. The impact of their experiences in another culture is striking. In addition, study away experiences build character, independence, and help you re-examine your sense of self in relation to the larger world. Studying away is a very popular experience here at Duke. 47% of the class of 2020 studied away, 49% of our Trinity College grads, and 33% of our Pratt School grads. The top 5 majors of our class of 2020 study away cohort were public policy, economics, computer science, biology, and political science. However, we strongly believe that with proper planning, every Duke major can study away. Duke students literally have access to programs across the globe. We offer you access to roughly 170 unique programs in 42 different countries. 40 of the programs offered by GEO are known as Duke In, and 130 are what we call Duke Approved. Our Duke In programs have direct ties to Duke University, involve Duke faculty, and in most cases, you'll earn Duke credits and grades. Duke Approved programs are administered by other universities and providers. A committee of Duke faculty and staff will review these outside programs for inclusion on our list of Duke Approved programs, so quality is assured. There are many opportunities for you to participate in a GEO Study Away program. Students can enroll as early as summer after freshman year. In total, there are 11 different terms over the course of your time at Duke when you could potentially study away: 6 summer terms and 5 semester terms. Many Duke students study away more than once. Our US-based Duke In study away programs are also very popular. Some of these study away programs include internship courses, where you can earn academic credit while gaining professional experience. One of the greatest benefits of participating in study away is network building. Many students note that they come away from their experience with new connections. They often build relationships outside their established peer groups, work closely with faculty, and some even interact with the professional world via internships. Many of our programs involve Duke alumni. Such networking can shape your path in surprising ways. Now for a quick rundown on program logistics. Let's start with academics. Students may study a wide variety of disciplines abroad, including engineering, humanities, languages, social and natural sciences, and much more. GEO has an approved course database on our website where you can see which programs offer the courses you need to fulfill your degree requirements. Next, let's take a look at admission requirements. All programs require an application, and the application process will vary by program. GEO completes a dean's check on all students to verify eligibility to study away. Generally speaking, Duke requires that students have a GPA of 2.7 or higher and cannot be on academic or behavioral probation. Some programs are more competitive than others, and deadlines can vary, so it's important to check each program's website for specific details. Now let's take a look at accommodations. Housing options vary greatly by program. Students may live in homestays, shared apartments, campus dorms, or other options. As far as language options and requirements, study abroad is not just for language majors and minors. The majority of programs abroad offer and allow students to take courses in English. Duke does require that students participating in semester and academic year programs in non-English speaking countries must take at least one course in the host language. Finally, let's address health and safety. At GEO, we're invested in making sure that you're safe and supported throughout your study away experience. We have a dedicated health and safety director in our office, and we're ready to support you 24/7 in a wide variety of situations. We also work with Duke's Student Disability Access Office to ensure you receive the accommodations you need, even on the other side of the world. This slide outlines the different cost structures for Duke N and Duke approved programs. More specific information can be found on each Duke N program's webpage. Duke approved program costs vary. Some cost less or the same as attending Duke, while a few may cost more, especially when you calculate in the Duke study away fee. You should also consider the cost of living in each host location. For your reference, we linked cost of living comparison tools from each Duke N program page. For details regarding costs of Duke approved programs, you can visit those individual program websites for more information. Nearly 40% of Duke students who studied away last year were on financial aid, and that percentage is consistent year after year. If you receive financial aid, you can use this aid to study on both Duke N and Duke approved semester programs. Your financial aid counselor and GEO advisors can provide more detail. GEO has 3 general advisors ready to meet with you via Zoom to help you get started. You can book an appointment through our website with either the first available advisor or the advisor of your choice. GEO also has a large student network passionate about their own study away experiences and committed to answering your questions. You can visit the Ask a Student section of our website to connect with some of these students. Connect with us at Duke Global Ed on social media or visit our website for more information and upcoming event details. Now we'll take some of your questions that have been queuing up. If you haven't yet done so, please type your question into the Q&A box and we'll try to respond to as many as possible.
All right, so I think now is a great time if you have questions to please put them in the Q&A box and we will be able to answer them. But to give you a little bit of time to do that, I think I'll go ahead and introduce our student panel that we have with us today. So we're joined by 5 students who are currently studying abroad or have studied abroad in the past. We're so happy to have them here. So if we want to start out with you, Langley, if you could just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your study away program and how it's fit in with your Duke experience so far.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Langley. I am a junior currently, so junior fall. I am a neuroscience major with minors in chemistry and medical sociology. So I'm on the pre-med track and I'm currently in Copenhagen in Denmark, participating in DIS, which is a Duke approved program. So when I go back to Duke, I'll have transfer credits, but I will not get the grade for the classes that I'm in. But the way that the program I'm in works is you take a core class, which is your main class that you travel with. And so that I'm taking a neuroscience class, so that'll transfer back as a neuroscience credit. I'm then in 4 elective classes, 1 neuroscience, so that will also transfer back to my major. I'm in 1 class that is going to transfer back as a medical sociology minor for my minor, and then nothing for chemistry. Traditionally, like pre-med classes are, you can't really transfer those back. And then I'm in a class that'll transfer back as an arts literature performance. And then I'm taking a class that will, then I'm taking Danish, which won't transfer back as anything because I have to take 5 abroad classes to transfer back to 4 Duke credits. So that's kind of like the short version of how my classes transfer, but yeah.
Thanks, Langley. So that's a good point that course loads on study abroad programs can vary. It's not always 4 classes like you take here at Duke. So that's something just to keep in mind as you're contemplating programs. So Sophia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Sophia. I'm also a junior and I'm studying in Dublin right now at Trinity College. My situation is a little different because I'm a program 2 major, so I designed my own course of study at Duke. which gives me a little bit of flexibility in that when I was designing my program too, I knew that I wanted to try to fit a study away into my Duke experience. So I kind of made sure that I will have time to take all of the core classes for my program too at Duke. And also hoped that I would be able to find something at Trinity College Dublin that I could substitute one of my Duke courses for. So I did. I'm taking one of my classes here is European Refugee Policy, which I should be able to substitute into my program too. And then the rest is a lot like Langley's situation in that I'm in 30 Irish credits, which for me is 5 classes. And I'll need, it works very similarly to how hers is. My most exciting ones, I'm taking a lot of Irish art and Irish language classes, just trying to integrate myself as much as I can. But yeah.
Whoops. Thank you so much, Sophia. Milena, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Milena, and I'm a senior now, studying political science and minoring in English and VMS. And I actually did 2 global programs. One was Duke in New York, which I did as a sophomore. And then as a junior, I did like a study away program at UCL, which was direct enroll. And I enjoyed it a lot because I was in charge of my like housing, financials, like classes. So I did everything myself, which was amazing. And I really recommend everyone to actually, like when I talk to friends, to do a like study away program, like Duke administration. No. So the one that's not run by Duke, is it study
Duke approved program?
Yeah, Duke approved, sorry. Because it actually like makes you such an independent and like fierce person because you do everything yourself. But because my program was in the spring 2020, it actually like got cut short by COVID. And the Global Education Office was amazing because they provided me with so much support and advice and even like money to fly home. So it was actually like incredible. Thank you so much, guys. And yeah, so all of my programs contributed to my majors or minors because at UCL, I was doing like policy and English. And at Duke in New York, I was also doing English and VMS. So it's very easy like to choose the programs that contribute to your major if you just like choose the ones correctly.
Great, thank you so much. Amber, could you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Amber. I'm a senior. I actually studied abroad this summer after my freshman year. So I was doing a Duke in Berlin program. So with the Duke in program, your classes are taught by Duke professors or people that Duke finds in wherever you are. And that way, like there wasn't any transferring of my credits. Like my classes had my TREC codes. And so that was really great. So I got my like ALPs out of the way while I was in Berlin. And studying abroad in the summer was like a really cool opportunity that I think not a lot of people know about because you don't have to like fit it in with your regular semester course load. And it was like a really awesome experience.
Great, thank you, Amber. And finally, Aaliyah, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, hello, I'm Aaliyah. I'm a junior as well, and I'm currently studying abroad in Paris. My major is French, so it was pretty easy to like fit in, like get credit for the classes that I'm taking here. And the way that the class load is set up here is a little more similar to Duke in that I do only have to take 4 classes, but they're at the University of Paris. So like all my classes are in French. Half of them are at the university and half of them are with the program, the study abroad program. So that makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I'm taking like art classes and then some like gender study type classes at the university. So it's been interesting.
Great, thank you so much, Aaliyah. We do have a few questions coming in. So I think the first question is actually going to be answered by my colleague, Carolyn Kovalt, who is also an advisor in our office. And it's regarding fall 2022 programs, when those will open up, when we'll know what the final portfolio is. So Carolyn, I'll turn that over to you. And then in the meantime, if you have questions for either Carolyn or any of the panelists, please drop them in the Q&A.
Thank you, Abby. Hi, everybody. Really good question. I don't, at this point, my understanding, all of our collective understanding is that we don't fully know what's up with fall 2022 yet, simply because it's too early to know. But the intention and the hope is that we will open things up again to all of our Duke approved programs and all of our Duke in programs. Many of you may have noticed that if you go to our website and you navigate to the page that talks about Duke approved programs, we do have different buttons that you can click out and see special lists of limited portfolios of what we offered for the current semester, as well as what we are offering for the spring semester. When I say offering, sometimes it's sort of only also what's possible right now. Our desire and hope is we open everything up next fall, but I don't think we know yet. And if we end up needing to create a special limited list for the fall, we'll do that. And that button will be on that same page. And applications for Duke approved programs for the fall should open mid-November. And I would look for something around then, and we'll just always be as transparent as we can based on the information we have at the time. So, and there was a second question. I think we just wanted to make sure that everybody understands the difference between a Duke in and a Duke approved program. Our Duke in programs are administered by Duke. We have academic oversight for them. We also have oversight over every other aspect. Your housing, how you get fed, whether you feed yourself, whether it's provided, whether you do a homestay, that sort of thing. We're in charge of your health, safety, and security, all excursions, all of it. We sort of are in charge of and own and have ownership for all of it. Our Duke approved programs are programs that we don't administer nor run, but we have vetted them fully. And we know that they meet our Duke academic standards, as well as all of our standards for your health and your safety and your security. And that's just in terms of running and administering programs. As far as credits, it can be a little confusing. Duke in programs in the summer, all Duke credit. Duke in programs during the semester. We have two types. We have some that are 100% Duke in, every single class is a Duke class. We have some that are actually what's called hybrid. And we do have information about this on our website. If you go to academics, and under academics, we have an area about credit. We talk about hybrid credit. On those programs, you get a combination of Duke credit as well as transfer credit from a local institution. And then on Duke approved programs, everything comes back as what's called study abroad transfer credit. Should I, Abby, I just wanted to check in. Should I go ahead and answer the question about languages as well?
Yeah, you can. And then I was also just gonna also ask the panelists about their experience with languages. But yeah, if you want to provide the general advising perspective, and then we can turn over to the panelists too.
Thank you. So there was a question about whether you can get credit for languages, or do you have to have language proficiency in order to do a study abroad program? And the answer is it really depends on the program. And what you need to do is just look into the program to understand what level of language proficiency you need to have for that specific program. There are programs that don't require you to have studied the language previously, and so you can go to a country and just take sort of like the DIS program. You can take Introduction to Danish Language and Culture, and it's fine that you've not studied Danish previously. And Duke does have a rule that if you go to a country where English is not an official language used by the government of that country, you always do have to take a class in the language of the country. And so that kind of always happens. You can study German here at Duke and get your foreign language taken care of by German, and then you can go to Japan on study abroad and take Japanese, and that's fine so long as you go on a program that will take your beginning level Japanese. So again, I think we have a number of students abroad. I know, Aaliyah, you're in France right now, so clearly you're getting some language credit there. If you all would like to talk about your experience to sort of add to that.
I can go. So as I said, like I'm taking classes that are in French at the French university. So you did have to have quite a bit of proficiency to qualify for this program. I believe you had to be at least at the 300 level of French, but there is a French speaking, the Aix-en-Provence, that program is also, you get to travel around, but I don't think you need as much proficiency. And the language has been interesting. I do feel like I'm getting, lots of experience, lots of exposure. But something to think about if you really do want to be proficient at the end is like your host stay versus like staying somewhere where I'm staying, like an international dorm. I do believe you get more speaking experience like with a host family. So just something to think about if you're looking to be proficient.
Thank you, Aaliyah. I wondered, Langley, if you could talk a little bit about studying in English in a non-English speaking country and what your experience has been like, maybe learning some Danish in your experience in Denmark.
Yeah, so basically what's really cool about my program is it's like there's like a lot of people, so it's 800 plus even this semester, which is crazy with like still the presence of COVID, but I'm in a country that basically there is no COVID, which is really nice. But basically I've not met anybody who had any previous Danish. So there's like 80% of the students are taking intro to Danish. But Danish is a really, really difficult language. So they've kind of shifted the focus at DIS at least to focus more on the culture. So it's called Danish Language and Culture. And so we spend about half of our class talking about learning the language and then half of our class doing culture, which I find really beneficial because Danish is such a hard language. And so they focus more on like the fact that it's more important to be able to fit into the society culturally as much as it is with the language. And everybody here speaks English. So you can go into a coffee shop and order in English, and basically everybody speaks English, which is really nice because you don't feel like you have to speak Danish, but at the same time, we're learning like very helpful phrases. I would say like, it's a really good place to go. I've already taken my language credits. It's a really good place to go to have a lot of flexibility with your classes. So that's why I chose it, not because I speak Danish or anything. I had already crossed off my language requirements in Spanish and I really wanted to go to Spain, but it didn't work with my requirements. So that's kind of why I think a lot of students choose to go to Denmark. But I do live with a host family and it's really nice with my class. I can ask them for help with my Danish, but it is a really difficult language and it's a really difficult, it's not like a lot of other romantic languages where there's a lot of English cognates. So that's been a little bit difficult. I'd say like having the language class helps a bit, but it's, I found the culture part to be kind of more helpful than the language part. I don't know if that really helps at all. It's kind of different for everybody, but I've really enjoyed that class. And for me, it doesn't transfer back as a language credit. A, because I've already completed mine, and B, because like I said before, Duke requires 5 classes to transfer to 4. So in order for my other 4 to count for TREX and for my major, I chose Danish to be the class that did not count. So for me, it's kind of just like a bonus, I guess.
Perfect. Thanks, Langley. And then Amber, I know you did Duke in Berlin in the summer, and I believe you can take German on that program or you don't have to, but can you talk a little bit about your experience on the Duke in Berlin program?
Yeah, so I actually took German 101 and 102 my first and second semester. So German was my language requirement. So it just made sense for me to go to Berlin and do my summer course and finish out the language requirement there. And there were like all levels of German there. So everyone in the program was in a different level of German or they weren't taking German. So like that was also an option. But it was really cool, I think, to do my language requirement in the country, like in a country that speaks the language that it was, because it was like you're so immersed in there and you can practice the things you're learning in class, like right after class. Like you can go right to the coffee shop and practice the new whatever tense that you just learned. So that was really cool. And I think that being there makes your language so much stronger than it would even if you were just like doing it for a whole semester, but at Duke, because it's just like such a different experience.
Great, thank you, Amber. Our next question has to do a little bit with the application process. So the question is specifically about applying for this coming spring and recommendations getting in on time. But I was wondering if Carolyn, you could talk a little bit about just the application process in general, and then maybe answer that specific question.
Sure, thank you. So to some degree, the answer to your question is going to depend on what program you're applying to. Here for our Duke-ins, what we tend to do is we won't review an application until everything is in. But if it's very clear that a student has done their part and we're just waiting to get the recommendation letter, once we have that, of course, we review the student, and if there's still a slot and they're qualified, then we will accept them and let them in. For Duke approved programs, it just depends on the program itself. If you're going through a provider, or if you're working with a school, generally my sense, and Abby, please speak up here, but my sense is if a student has gotten their own piece in and they've done everything they can by the deadline, and the program can see this, that the student earnestly and seriously is applying and wants to do this, they'll wait for that recommendation to come in. But you just kind of hope that it comes in fairly quickly, especially if it's a competitive program with a high level of interest. So I don't think you need to panic or think if the letter's not in that I won't be looked at. You just need to hope that there's still slots open by the time that it does come in. Abby, would you add anything to that?
I agree. I would say if it is a Duke in program that you're applying to, I would recommend reaching out to our office just to let us know that you think it might not be in on time. And then, just that lets us know that you're still interested in actively applying, and we can, give you a few extra days for that, that letter to come in. If it's a Duke approved program, I'd also reach out to the program to give them a heads up. But like Carolyn said, we usually try to be as flexible as we can with recommendations because we understand that that's kind of outside of the applicant's control there. So thank you. I don't think we have any active questions that haven't been answered yet, but certainly if you think of any, please post them. But I was wondering if some of the panelists could talk about their process of choosing a program and how they narrowed down their options. So I know, Sophia, you're in Dublin this semester. So can you talk about how you chose your program, kind of the thought process you went through with that?
Yeah, mine's a little interesting because I didn't initially apply to this particular program. I knew that I wanted to be somewhere in the UK or Ireland, just because I've been to the UK before. I've never been to Ireland. But I was just looking for an English speaking program. I took Spanish at school, but I was hoping for an English program, and preferably somewhere in Europe. Originally, I was going to do a Duke in program because I liked that I would have Duke support. So I was going to go on the Duke in Glasgow program, but then that one was canceled. But then Gia was great helping us, for those who were still interested in going abroad, making sure that we could find open applications and apply. So I was looking through programs that were still going. And then I think because there was no Duke in program in Ireland, I hadn't been thinking as much about Ireland as an option. But then when I saw that IFSA at Trinity College Dublin was still taking applications, I was looking more into it and I got really, really excited. Just finding pictures of Dublin. I think the biggest part for me was the history of Dublin and the fact that I hadn't been here before. And the more I looked into it, the more excited I got about it. But I think it was kind of an interesting sequence of events that led me here, especially because of the fact that they were still taking applications and Duke in Glasgow was no longer happening. But that's what brought me here, and it's been absolutely amazing. I have only good things to say about my experience so far. So.
Great, thanks so much, Sophia. We did have another question about applying to multiple programs. And yes, the limit for a semester long-term is 3 programs that you can apply to. And then for summer, for Duke-in programs, it's a little bit different. You can apply to 1 program per summer term. So we have 2 summer sessions, summer session 1 and summer session 2. So you're limited to just applying to one per summer session as long as the dates don't overlap. So I just wanted to answer that quickly. And then I did want to open a discussion a little bit about budgeting and financial aid. So Carolyn, I don't know if you want to give a quick rundown about how financial aid works for StudyWay.
Great, I'm happy to. For anyone who has, other than Zoom open, has their computer open and can navigate to our website, globaled.duke.edu, you'll notice that across, we have all these headings across the top of our page, and there's one called Finances, and the overview and then the financial aid section will be really, really helpful to read. Basically, if you receive a scholarship or financial aid, then your family contribution should not change when you do study abroad, provided that whatever program you go on, and this is if it's a Duke approved program, provided that whichever program you go on does not cost more than a semester at Duke costs. And the kind of good news, and this is the little joke I make, is this is the one time it serves you well that Duke is expensive, because finding programs that cost more than a semester at Duke, there's not a whole lot that do. There are some, but there's very, very few. When you go on a Duke in program, you pay Duke tuition. It feels very much like it does while you're here. There's a few things that are slightly different, but it will feel very, very similar. Duke approved, you pay whatever your family normally contributes, and then the rest is going to be covered by financial aid. And if you're on a full scholarship, it will cover everything. Again, you simply cannot spend more than you would spend on a semester here at Duke. As you plan and apply for study abroad, what you'll want to do is reach out to your financial aid counselor. This is even true if you have a scholarship that's a full ride, because your money gets funneled through financial aid. So you will want to reach out to your financial aid counselor. You're going to build a budget with them for that semester that you do study abroad that is going to look quite different than it does when you're here at Duke. If you do a Duke approved program, one thing that you will owe Duke is something you never pay while you're here, which is called the Duke Study Abroad fee. And it's not cheap, it's $4,580. Please don't panic, that's part of your budget and it's part of what gets covered. So what you'll do though is you're gonna build like a pie chart that's gonna look quite differently than when you're here at Duke. And I don't know if we have students who are on financial aid and feel like there's something that I didn't cover or something you'd like to add to that would be helpful. Those are the basics of it. Again, the website that I mentioned, if you go to the financial aid part and sort of scroll down, we talk about the things that I just said verbally. We lay that out. We've got a little chart, but then down below, there's a link to the financial aid website. And they have tremendous links there with lots of sample budgets for Duke approved programs. And that's also really worth looking at.
I have something I can throw in from a student's perspective. I'm not on financial aid. I do have a friend here who's on financial aid and has had a really great experience because Duke really helps you a lot, and we're a Duke approved program, so it's not even a Duke in, but something to look into when you're looking at different locations to study abroad is like how much things typically cost in certain countries. So something I've learned is Copenhagen is one of the most expensive cities to live in. And then I had some friends this weekend go to Paris, and people in Paris, which is also a very expensive city, were saying, oh, you live in Copenhagen, that's like the only city that's more expensive than Paris. So it's good to look into like what places you're going to and like what typically things cost. And then also something that I've been lucky with is when you're looking at different housing options. So personally, I live in a homestay, so I actually have all of my meals. My program pays my host family a certain amount of money to help them with covering food for me, but for me, that's covered in my housing cost. So I can pack all my lunches and have dinner at my host family every single night if I want to. Whereas some of my friends who are paying the same housing fee as I am and are living in a residential community or different type of housing are still responsible for a lot of their meals. So that's something also to think about, is like what housing you want to choose and kind of like what different types of financial benefits you get from each. So like I don't pay for like shampoo, which things like that can add up when you're paying for those. So if you think about that, that's really helpful. But also the cities is definitely good to think about as well when you're choosing.
I have to speak. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say that was a good point.
Yeah, okay. I am on financial aid and I'm happy to talk to people about that process if anybody has any questions. I did not really look into the costs of Dublin. It is the most expensive city in Ireland, which I, in hindsight, should have looked into, but definitely can claim that as a misstep, that it was a bit of a wake-up call when I realized I had not budgeted as much as I should have for things like food. So that is a great thing to avoid. And then again, if anyone has questions about working with your financial aid officer or anything like that, I'm happy to talk to you about that.
Yeah, to me, what really helped is that because I was also on a Duke approved program, and I tried to choose the accommodations that would like help me offset the costs of like food, because London is also extremely expensive. And so I rented a room instead of like an entire apartment, for example, and I had like amazing roommates too, so that was even better. And renting a room like maybe a bit further from the center actually helped me like cover other things and even like afford some travels. So again, like it's very cool if you are in charge of your own finances and you can actually like budget. Of course, you have to do it in advance, but if you budget well, you can actually have like some money left over for like traveling if you're on financial aid. Yeah.
These are all really good points. Thank you all for jumping in. Definitely the initial point about location and knowing where you're going and cost of living being very different everywhere is that's a very good point. Thank you for saying that.
Great. I think there was another topic we wanted to cover, which we talked about briefly. Langley's mentioned that she's taking 5 classes and only 4 will transfer back to Duke. And then I think Sophia mentioned she's taking 6 classes. So Carolyn, if you could talk a little bit about the intricacies of course load on different programs and some of the ins and outs of that.
Yes, happy to. This is a little bit confusing. And so I just wanted to clarify something. And we have information about this in 2 different parts of our website. Catherine, you're amazing with all the links you're sharing. Thank you. You can find this under course load in the academics section of our website. You can also find this on the PDF about course credit basics, which is in the advising preparation section of our website. So here's the weird thing. Obviously, full-time course load is not the same everywhere as it is at Duke. And because Duke requires you to be in the equivalent of 15 to 16 US credit hours, depending on where you're going, the amount of classes that you take it's going to vary. Sometimes you take 4, sometimes you take 5, sometimes you take 6. What I want to clarify is there's actually, when you're in that situation, there's a little bit of a difference between classes and credits. And when I say credits, I mean what I call raw math. It's the only way I can think of to sort of divide these things. So Sophia's taking 6 classes right now at Trinity. She is not getting credit for only 4 classes. She's getting credit for all 6 classes. So if all 6 classes, if each and every one of those is approved to do something here in the Duke curriculum, count towards a major, a minor, a certificate, a Trinity requirement, something. If it's doing something kind of official, that's like a box that needs to be checked off, all 6 of those things will be checked off. However, when students do what we ask you to do by being full-time, we never change the amount of credits, which again is what I call raw math. We never change the amount of credits that you get for that semester. So you get 4 credits despite the fact that you took 6 classes. Those credits go towards the 34 credits that you need to graduate. All 6 classes will count towards your Duke degree. What's confusing when people go to Denmark, and like I understand why you said that the Danish kind of won't count, simply because nobody here at Duke is taking Danish. So there's no way to like plug that back in here. But in an example, if you went abroad and you had to take 5 classes and you were taking French, then all 5 classes could count towards your Duke degree and towards something here. So I just wanted to make sure that that difference is clear. Full-time course loads can vary anywhere from 3 classes per semester to 6 classes per semester, and you will always get 4 credits regardless of the number of classes that you take. It is a little confusing, but we're here to help you. You can always make an appointment and we can talk through that. I hope that did not cause more confusion, and I hope it just sort of cleared things up a little bit. And if you have questions about what I said, please let us know.
Thank you, Carolyn. And then another thing we wanted to talk about was hybrid credit. So there is a lot of our Duke in semester programs. You actually receive some Duke credit and some transfer credit. So we call them hybrid programs. And so Aaliyah's on one of those programs right now, Duke in France. So I just wanted, maybe you could talk a little bit, Aaliyah, about taking Duke classes and also taking classes at the Paris universities?
Yeah, so the way that it's divided is my classes that I'm taking that are under the program, the study away program, those classes I am getting like Duke to Duke credit for. I'll get a letter grade in the class and that will like be on my transcript. But for the classes that I'm taking at the Paris University, those will be transfer credit. So the way that those work is they will be like pass fail. And that's what will show up on my transcript. And like Duke, I will have to get like the equivalent of a C- to pass. But I'll just get, it'll just show up as pass fail on my transcript, but it still goes toward like any requirements that they might fulfill. I can still get credit for those, which is really nice because the grading system in France is very, very, very different. So for those to be like transfer instead of like a one-to-one type thing is helpful.
Perfect, thank you. I just want to clarify the way that credits transfer is sort of like pass fail, but you do have to take the courses for a grade while you're in country, and then yeah, basically everything else Aaliyah said was right. But I just like to clarify that because we do get questions from students saying like, oh, my courses are pass fail, so I'll just take them pass fail while I'm there. And then if you do that, then you actually end up not getting credit. So it is important to take the courses for a grade, and then the way they transfer back, as long as you have a C- or higher, you will get credit for them. And then Aaliyah, could you talk a little bit about, and maybe others can talk about this too, about how the course registration process was a little bit maybe different or the same at Duke?
So it did end up being quite complicated, considering how they register for classes here in this country. But luckily, Valerie Huberno, who is she's like a part of the Duke program, she like registers us at the university, and like we tell her what classes we want to take, and she makes sure that like everything counts for us and all of that. So like I'm glad that we have that kind of like check and balance. But the way that it works here is you have to go to the university and like register with their registrar. And because unlike the US, a lot of the departments are very separate. It can get a little complicated trying to take classes in two different departments. So that is something that you should like speak with your program director about and like figure out how to do that as an international student here. But other than that, registering was pretty straightforward in that we, write them on a piece of paper, we give it to Valerie, we register ourselves at the university, and we register with her for the Duke structured classes.
Great. Does anyone else have any insights about course registration abroad? Anything to add there?
Just that for us, it was very hectic and a bit of a complicated process that just took some patience, knowing that everything would eventually be resolved. You wouldn't know that Trinity has been around for so long because their system is not very streamlined. It's not ideal, but eventually it all worked out fine. It just was a stressful week.
That's a really good point, Sophia, actually, that a lot of sort of institutions with long academic history, you kind of feel the history more than the strong academics sometimes, and they don't move at the same pace. And it's common to not know what classes you're going to get a seat in until you're on site. And I know that's nerve-wracking if you're looking for specific classes. So that's pretty common, yeah.
I would like to piggyback on that. I forgot, like, you don't know what classes are available. You don't know what time they are, where they are, what classroom. It's nothing like Duke where you're like, book bagging and then like you wake up at 7 a.m., click, and you're registered. You have to like go and like talk to a bunch of people. But then it, like Sophia said, it all works out.
Yes, thank you guys for saying that, because I like to warn students about that, but I feel like you don't really know what it's like until you're there. So thank you for that. I just wanted to, in the last few minutes we have, I wanted to kind of shift gears to maybe a more fun question. If you guys could share some of the highlights of your study abroad program, and some of the fun things that you've been doing or have done on your programs, I would appreciate it.
I feel like I have a lot to say, but sorry. But I'll try to make it quick. I've only been here for like 3 weeks, but I feel like I have enough stuff to say to fill like volumes of books about. One of the fun things I've been doing is trying a lot of different cafes and going to different parks. So today, for example, I tried this new park called Griffith Park. That's about 2 miles away from me. I walked there, and I happened to be right next to the National Botanic Garden. So then I like walked around there, tried out a new bakery on the way back. So that was really fun. And then another highlight was I took a trip to Galway on the west coast of Ireland with some of my friends. We were just there for one night, but it was so much fun. And we met this random Irish woman who had heard one of my friends singing, and she like stopped this live music at this pub and made us get up and sing in front of everybody. And it was very funny, but a great experience. And that kind of thing just seems to happen all the time.
Yeah, to me, it was definitely my friend group, because even though we got to spend only 2 months together, but we had people from Italy, France, Spain, Slovakia, like America, Russia, and it was just incredible because like we got to spend so much time together and like have fun and go to like clubs, restaurants, and even travel. So we went to Dublin together, which was incredible. And yeah, so definitely like getting to know people from all over the world, because London is like a hub that just attracts like the best people from every corner, and that was incredible.
I will say one of the best things about being here, this is my first time like really outside of the US. And so I like literally just coming out of the metro and like walking along some random street, I'm just like in awe every day of like the beauty of this place and like the different architecture. And it's just so different and beautiful. And also we took a trip to it was like a program trip to Giverny, which is a little bit south, about an hour south of Paris. But it's like something that would be in a movie. And it's honestly like one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. And we went to like Monet's garden and like his house where he lived and painted and everything. And you just see so many cool things when you're abroad and just like exploring and wandering. So I guess that would be my favorite part.
I've been here for about a month, and I feel like I've already gotten to experience so much experiential learning. So the program I'm in is very like every Wednesday there's no class, and we have classes. We go with our classes to different places that are related to our class. And then the way my program works is we have a core class, which is like your main class, and that's your travel, like that's the class you travel with. So I've already traveled to the second biggest city in Denmark called Aarhus, and we did lectures there, but we also did just more like museums and things like that. And we also got to like go to the night hours of a zoo, which was really cool. And I'm also going to Munich with that same class. So as far as like really getting like a cultural experience, that's been amazing. And then on the other hand, being with a host family has been like genuinely incredible. All my friends are doing it as well from Duke. But like Wednesday, Sunday, my host dad is a pilot and owns a part in a small plane. And so he took me flying, and we flew all over Sealand, which is like Copenhagen is on an island in Denmark. And so we literally got to fly over every single castle I want to visit. And he was like, oh, this is this castle. You have to do this to get there. I got to fly over my friends' host houses and like tell them to look up. And like, that's something you can't do if you're just living in like a dorm, and whether at Duke or even in Denmark. So that's been amazing. And having people like just teach me things that I can't learn in school. But like, I'm the same as Sophia. Like I have so many different things, and I've loved seeing Sophia and I are friends on Facebook, and she posts like all the time. So I love seeing hers. And then I'm actually blogging for my program here. So if it's okay with GEO, I can also share that link, and people can, like, if you want to see more experiences, and share that, which has been really awesome, like a great way to document. I would definitely recommend documenting in some way your experiences if and when you decide to go abroad, because it's great for your family and friends to see, and like a great way for you to look back as well. So.
I think my favorite part is very similar to Aaliyah's. Like, it was my first time really living in a city, so I really just like when we'd have a free afternoon, just kind of like going out and like exploring a new neighborhood and seeing what I found. And like, I just think with study abroad, the lifestyle is very different than when you live somewhere already. So it's like you take the time to do things you wouldn't normally do when you're at Duke or when you're in your hometown. And so like some of my favorite experiences were just like meeting people in a park and talking to them. And then all of a sudden you're learning about an entirely different like lifestyle or person that you never would have met. So I think you just like being abroad, you take the time to open yourself up to opportunities that you wouldn't in your daily life. And I think that's one of like the biggest benefits of studying abroad also.
Yeah, I just want to pipe up and say thank you and say that I feel like there's this theme that doesn't surprise me of a lot of walking. We don't do a whole lot of walking in this country unless you live in like Manhattan or Chicago or something like that. A lot of walking, and maybe I'm making assumptions here, but something else I always tell students that awaits them in much of the rest of the world is really good public transportation that we're not so good with here, and how much easier it is to get around. And I think that those are things to look forward to as well. So sounds like you're walking all over Dublin there, which is great.
Yeah, so I think we're coming to the end. I want to thank our panelists so much for joining us. This was really great to have you and hear your firsthand experience studying away. And I also want to mention that our office is hosting a virtual study abroad fair or study away fair on October 20th. So there'll be more information available coming soon about that. But it should be a really great opportunity to find out more program specific information, especially about Duke-In programs. And Catherine, I see, has posted a link in the chat with more information about that. So thanks to everyone who attended, and thanks to our panelists, and hope everyone has a good rest of their day.